Hey there. For a couple of years now, I've seen these really amazing mods on the Olight i3T. This is the i3T 2, the Friendship Brass Edition one that they did last year. But the mod is basically that you remove the rubber button on the tail switch and you replace it with a spent casing, or maybe if you have new casing, then it wouldn't be a spent casing. But in my case, it will be. So one of the themes of this video is going to be, we're going to call this the poor man's way of doing this. I don't have a lot of fancy tools, and honestly, I'm just at home. I'm kind of bored, so I just want to see what I could do. Just to see how it works. I may do some other things later, but the thing I always wondered about the button is what lies underneath the button. Like, I don't know how deep that is. I'm kind of interested to see how that works. But I've never been able to find a video or really any instructions on how to do this. Maybe it's just that simple. But I thought I'd make one for maybe the next guy who was kind of curious. So a couple quick things. So I'd love to do the 223 round. But, I don't know. Again, I'm not 100% sure how it would fit. I know that it's a little bit smaller than the 9mm. It fits just right inside there. So it may not work, but I'm going to try to do that. I think that'd be kind of neat. I have a poor man's Dremel. This is a battery-powered Dremel, and it does a pretty good job of cutting. And I actually just tested cutting this 380 round, so it will cut, and so that's what we're going to do. I've got a couple of picks here that I'm going to use to pry the button out. I'm not going to be able to pry the button out on video because, again, a poor man's version of this, I'm doing it from my phone. So I'll just try to let you know how it goes whenever I'm done. And to put the round into the button, I'm just going to use good old-fashioned super glue. Now, before you tell me in the comment section I should use something like epoxy or maybe Gorilla Glue, that's definitely not off the table down the road. I just don't have any right here. And again, I'm just doing this kind of spur of the moment. So if the round falls out or seems loose, I'll replace it with something. This is the super glue gel, so I think I could pack it in there pretty well, so it'll stick good. So anyway, first thing is to remove the button. I'm going to pause the video, do that, and then come back and let you know how that goes. Wow, that was surprisingly easy. So you can see the rubber button is, there's like hardly anything to it, and it was just held on with an adhesive. So I just used that pick and it popped right out. Let's take a look at the actual. So whenever you're cutting the casing down, like, you're going to want to cut it probably, pretty short, I guess you would say. Let me just see how this fits. Again, I've never even seen this done, so I'm interested to see if it has to. Oh, that's kind of tight. I'm going to pause this a second and see how this looks. Well, that is interesting. So the 9mm round will not fit in here. Now, again, this is the i3T 2, so I wonder if, they made it a little different. Actually, I have an i3T in this drawer. Let me just, whoop. I don't know. Oh, you know what? Let me hit the button piece here. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So, well, I don't know for sure, but it could be a little smaller. Well, you know what? This i3T here is just like a garage light. So I'm going to pop the button out of there. Just put it back with some super glue. Hang on, I'll let you guys know if there's any difference in diameter between the i3T2 and the i3T. One sec. Okay, I can confirm that these are the same size. There is no difference, but I figured it out. Here's what's happening. Notice that it is tapered right here at the top. So I think what we're doing is we're cutting, there we go. We're cutting to that tapered edge, because, let me see if I can get this in the camera so you can see. I don't know. But if you guys have to look at my nasty fingernails. Sorry about that. If you look, that's kind of what you're working with. Like, it's the same thickness. So what they're doing is basically just cutting it to that taper. That's fantastic. So that's exactly how that works. So what I'm going to do is put the 223 round in the vise and literally just cut it basically right off at that taper. This is how it works. I'm also going to glue the button back into my i3T, so I need to do that. So I'm going to pause this, do a little cutting, and we'll see what happens. By the way, real quick, if you mess up and you want to change your mind, it's just that easy to stick that rubber button back in with a little super glue. I will be right back. Okay, well, so I'm done. And boy, don't I love just screwing around and seeing what kind of foolishness I can stir up and just goofy lessons that I can learn. And honestly, isn't that what it's all about? Just tinkering with things and just kind of seeing what happens. I mean, I don't know. I've always done things like that. Sometimes they work out good, sometimes they don't. We'll see how this goes. So the story goes like this. So with my crappy Dremel, I took off the end. But you can see, I think a lot of this, I think, has to do with equipment. If you had a better powered Dremel, better, equipment, you're going to probably have a much better experience with this. But basically, took that end off of it. I meant to come back and take a video of that, but because some things happened that was very frustrating, I just got carried away and finished it up. But as you can see, that's how it was. The tiny piece of casing here was, in fact, not 100% even, and I ended up using a file to kind of smooth it out some. It was just a whole thing. I also ended up using this bit of Dremel here to sort of widen out the plastic because, again, it still didn't quite want to fit in there. So in the end, what I did, and this is where you guys are going to be like, really? What an idiot. But whatever. I mean, it's on there, and it is what it is. I think it looks really cool on this friendship light. Anyway, I actually used good old JB Weld, and the reason that I used this was simply because I almost needed, if you can see, there's like some little, let me just see if I can get the focus in here just right. There's some little gaps. It would not sit down exactly right. I just could not get it. I've been in here for like 45 minutes. Well, no, probably like an hour messing around with this. But what I did was I mixed up the JB Weld really good, stuck it in there really good, and then that putty was able to be almost like a self-leveler, like it leveled it out, and as you can see, kind of filled in a couple of areas that maybe, like it didn't quite do. So, there's lessons. So the lessons are always have a better Dremel. I've known that for years. I need to get a better one. This is like a craft Dremel, basically. It even gave out on me a couple of times. I had to turn it off, wait a minute, turn it back on. And just be patient. But I mean, the scariest part to me was what's underneath that button. And as we've learned tonight, I mean, there you have it. I mean, it's just a little rubber. So if you take it off and maybe you couldn't quite get the casing to fit or whatever, you can always just put your button back on until you put JB Weld in there. Now, once you get that in there, I'm thinking this button, if the JB Weld works like it's supposed to, and it always has for me, I've always had great luck with that stuff, that button's not coming out. Oh, another quick thing on safety. There is so much brass dust. Make sure you wear some good safety equipment. I'm usually like safety third kind of guy, but in this case, I really feel like it's going to be best to wear safety because this stuff is everywhere. Brass dust. So I need to open the garage door and take care of this. Anyway, I hope this helps. I mean, at least it gives some folks some ideas. I found that there were no videos out there to really do anything, but hope it helps. Have a good night.